Hey, 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 this is Natasha Nurse, and I have the great privilege and honor to be speaking with Sheri Riley. And before we have her join on the call, I just want to share with everyone listening her amazing bio. So, Sheri is a wife, a mother, a daughter, and an entrepreneur. And she has made all of that work and make it easy and simple, which is quite a big feat for most people. And as a trendsetter in the entertainment industry, she spent 20 years creating innovative marketing strategies for some of the world's biggest celebrities and corporations. To name a few, she has worked with Usher, TLC, Toni Braxton, Converse, NBA, TNT, and so many more clients. And now, as an empowerment speaker, life strategist, and best-selling author, she works with all around busy individuals, like many of you probably listening, to make choices that lead to stress that is going to be reduced and that people can have better clarity and have a more fulfilling life. And she speaks all around the world, sharing her message of peace is the new success. So, how are you, Sheri?
I am wonderful. How you doing, Natasha?
I'm very good. I'm very excited to be speaking with you and to hear all the tidbits of information that you're going to share. So, I guess my first question would be like, how did you become the woman you are today?
Wow. That's one of those big, big, big questions. No, you know what? I'm a woman of faith. I don't put my faith on anyone, but I am a woman of faith.
Mhm.
And I have to say it has been a journey of truly tapping into the truth of who I am based on God's will for my life. I'm from a very small town in Kentucky, and I knew very early, probably around 14 or 15, that I wanted to work in the entertainment industry. And after many years of preparation and phone calls and emails and trips to network and meet different people. I got my first opportunity to work in the entertainment industry, doing the marketing for Gerald Levert and his stable of artists,
Mm.
and then got the call from LaFace Records, which was the record label in Atlanta owned by Kenny Babyface Edmonds and Antonio L.A. Reid. And
Mhm.
it was the home for literally industry breaking artists like Toni Braxton, TLC, Usher, Outkast. And so after about 8.5 years of trying to get into the entertainment industry and then being in the industry for about 5, 6 years, truly loving what I was doing, truly appreciating the artistry and the team that I worked with, I resigned because I literally had this amazing career, but I did not have a good life. And
Mm.
it really started me on this journey of realizing that I wanted to know more about myself than just she was good at marketing. I really wanted to be that whole and complete person. So that's the thumbnail of what got me here, having
Yeah.
this conversation with you.
Oh, wow. So when you say that you felt like you weren't having a good life, did you feel like you weren't satisfied with what you were doing, or you felt like you were like not healthy and not living up to like some of the potential you had on like for personal goals?
Yeah, you know what? The whole term, I was spending 100% of my time on 10% of who I was.
Mm.
I was very driven in my career. I was very satisfied with the accomplishments that I was achieving in my career. I was reaching the highest levels of success in my career. But
Mm.
it was those other things you referenced. I was disconnected from who I was. I didn't have, me personally, I was unhealthy. I'd never exercised. I didn't eat, correctly. I didn't have what I called a healthy dating life
Mm.
because I didn't really have or make the time. I didn't spend time with my friends and my family, not quality time. I was in their presence, but I wasn't present. My hair was falling out. I was stressed. So, all those other elements that are important to us, I didn't put any effort or energy in. It was just all about work, work, work. And so I was trying to find 100% of my fulfillment in just 10% of who I was.
Wow. So what can you like take us through that process? Like how did you figure out like after stepping down, Did you do a retreat? Did you work with a coach? Like, how did you find the next stage of your life then?
Well, when I resigned from the Face, I realized I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I did always want to be an entrepreneur. So when I resigned from the Face, I started a business, Glue, which I had for 17 years. It was a strategic consulting firm. We did partnership brokering, entertainment placement, marketing communications. And
Mm-hmm.
so I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so I really did frame the company and frame the business around the lessons I had learned professionally from working at LaFace. But I
Mm,
also went on this journey of, okay, Sheri, you do marketing. Stop spending 100% of your time on 10% of who you are is a great marketing tag. But
mm-hmm.
what does that really mean? But more importantly, how? Like, how do you stop spending 100% of your time on
Yeah.
10% of who you are, right? Like, how
Mhm.
do you do that? And so I had this business, and it was a very successful business. We had great clients. You've referenced earlier Turner, the NBA, Converse, Nike, Coca-Cola. We had these really great clients, but I was still answering that question. And so I really, during this time, I went on this 12-year journey of trying to uncover how do we stop spending 100% of our time on 10% of who we are. But initially, it just started as me, like
Mhm.
I wanted the answer to it. And what I uncovered was I was pursuing the career, I was pursuing the money, I was pursuing the titles, I was pursuing the relationships, I was a great networker, and I was pursuing those things because I believed that the money would give me financial freedom, that the
Mhm.
relationships would give me security. I believed that if I pursued these things, the freedom, the security would give me peace.
Mhm.
And what I recognize is when the money, the access, the relationships, none of that gave me the peace that I really needed to reverse that. I needed to pursue the peace first,
Mm.
and then all those things could be added. And
Mm.
so I started really on this journey of, okay, if the answer to all of this is pursuing the peace, what do I do?
Mm.
And so I started truly diving into that.
Mhm.
And my friends started calling me and they were like, okay, girl, look, don't tell nobody. But I'm making good money. I'm traveling, I've got homes, I've got cars, I've got purses, I've got all these things, but I'm a wreck. Like
Mm.
I'm a wreck. And what are you doing? And so
Mhm.
I just started sharing with them the things that I was doing, and they started seeing the benefits. It
Mm.
started helping them, and so that's kind of how the whole idea of exponential living came about. Is I
Mhm.
literally was just trying to find the answers for myself, and as I was finding the answers, my friends started seeing the difference. They started asking me what I was doing, and it started working for them as well.
Mm. And that's really the heart of entrepreneurship though, right? Like there's a problem and usually it's an individual problem, and because you're determined enough and you're hungry enough to get that answer then becomes the solution for millions and millions of other people, right? And that I think that if you were to do a survey of everyone listening and everyone in the world right now, is everyone completely happy with their life? Absolutely not. Are people spending more time, like you're saying, on 10% of who they are versus the rest of their whole world? Of course, we focus more on our work and our career because of expectations, like you were mentioning, and that whole like, oh, I have to make money and I have to provide. But like, is that the what our book is supposed to be about in life? Like, is that just you made money and you were awesome at that? Like, is that
Right, right, right.
that I think our story is supposed to be much more fuller and holistic. Now, interesting. Okay, so now with the clients that are working with you and figuring this out, have you found something like surprising as to like maybe it was different than your story and your narrative as to why they were so unhappy and so kind of entrenched in this intense work career?
Yeah, everyone has a different story.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has a different journey to get there. Um, Everyone has a different pressure in it. Some clients Their pressure is motherhood or fatherhood. It's not necessarily a career. It's
Mm,
whatever narrows your life down to that 10%.
gotcha.
Right? And so, though everyone's story is different, what I have found consistent, though, is those 9 principles work regardless of your story, regardless of how you got there, regardless of the amount of discomfort or the depth of where you are. What I
Mm,
found is those, the 9 principles of exponential living that I talk about in my book
hmm
really work across the board. Any income level, any socioeconomic reality, nationality, language, I mean, where your culture, what society you've been brought up in, where you are in your journey, whether you're male or female, those 9 principles literally speak to a wide range of individuals and move them forward.
Okay. And in your award-winning book, Exponential Living, you give, like you're saying, you give these 9 principles. So obviously people have to get the book if they want all 9 principles. But what would you say would be like the easiest principle to achieve like right now? If someone was listening and they were like, okay, I want to do this, I need to figure this out. What would be like the easiest one or the most relatable principle in the book?
You know what? Because we all have different stories, we're all in different places. There is no quote unquote easiest one,
Mm,
because it depends on where you are. It depends on who you are. It depends on what got you there. But what I can say that is universal, and I would say it's not the easiest thing, but it's very simple,
hmm
is that all of us have to start with making a decision.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, that's the hardest part for many of us,
hmm
but it really is that simple. And I've
Mm.
had some people say, "Oh gosh, Sheri, like, give me the answer. What do I need to do? What do I need to do? Just give me something. Give me anything." And I always say, "Just make a decision." Okay, no, 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 no. I need something else, right?
Yeah.
Because even though it's that simple, it's
Mhm.
very hard. It's very hard to actually make the decision. And many times, and I find this quite often, we'll make a decision, not accept that we made the decision, and go back and say, well, what are we going to do? Well, but we
Mm.
already made that decision. Let's just move forward. So there
Ah.
isn't one principle that speaks to, everybody. It's the easiest, the simplest. But what does speak to everybody is make a decision. Make
Gotcha.
a decision so you can at least start moving.
Wonderful. Okay. And now in your journey as an entrepreneur, as someone from a successful corporate background, how has being a woman and being a person of color affected this journey?
It's present in every moment.
Mhm.
It's present in every moment. And I'm gonna speak to two different kind of sides of the spectrum. When I first started my company Glue,
Mhm.
I was adamant that my resume, my company portfolio would
Mhm.
have no gender, it would have no race. You would not be able to tell by the portfolio.
Mm.
What I wanted you to know is that my company delivers at the highest level in
Mm.
excellence. So when I first started my business, I focused on securing those type of clients. So my
Mm.
first clients were Nike, Coca-Cola, and Turner.
Mm.
Now, it would have been easier if I had taken those smaller one-off clients that told you I was an African American or told you that I was a female.
Mhm.
But I didn't want that because when I walk in a room, you know I'm an African American female.
Mhm.
When you look at my portfolio, you know I deliver. Because if Coke hired me, Nike hired me, Turner hired
Mhm.
my company, you know the company has a reputation of delivering.
Mhm.
So as a African American female, I was very conscious of that from the beginning.
Mm.
Now, the other side of that, as an African American female, is being very conscious that privilege exists and we all have some form of privilege.
Mhm.
A really good friend of mine, she spoke about how when she was working in the mayor's office, and her job was to keep the streets clean when the weather was bad. One morning about 6 o'clock, she was driving to work. There had been this huge snowstorm, and she was so proud of herself because due to her planning, the city had gotten the ice trucks and the snow trucks out. The roads were clear, and all the snow was piled up on the sidewalks. And she was so proud because that meant when people got up to go to work, even though there had been a snowstorm, people were going to have clear roads. And she drove into the office and she felt so good. And she got an email. And the email said, I could not get to the bus stop today because the snow was on the side of the roads, covering the sidewalks. And it was from a person that was in a wheelchair. And in that moment, as an African-American female, she realized all of us have some form of privilege. It's not just white males. It's just not white females. Everyone has some form of privilege. And her privilege was she had no idea, because she's a walking woman, walking person, that what she felt so good about had actually, her privilege had hindered someone else's progress, someone in a wheelchair. And so what that helps me recognize that as an African-American female, are there some challenges that I'm going to face? Yes. But are there some privileges that I also can own? Yes. My responsibility as an African-American female is to be conscious and considerate on both ends of that spectrum. I got to be conscious of when the privilege is trying to rise up against me and pigeonhole me into a certain box because I'm an African-American female. And I have to be conscious and considerate when my privilege that I'm not conscious of is also a challenge. And so that's how I approach it, just like I did with my first business. I wanted my business to establish the work we did. You're going to know I'm a Black woman when I walk in the room, but my repertoire speaks for itself. Let the work speak.
Amazing.
And so that's how I've approached, being a Black woman in this workforce. Is I have to be excellent at what I do because that's just me. I have to be aware of who's in the room, and I have to be conscious of the privilege that I have. But here's one very simple tip that I'm going to give. As a woman, when I'm in a room, if I'm in a corporate meeting or a meeting with people, I never take notes that people can see, especially when I'm the only woman in the room. Because male privilege, when there's a woman in the room, male privilege automatically assumes that the woman in the room will take the notes. And what that does is it minimizes her position in the room. And I've had that happen to me. I've been in rooms where I was the only woman or there was one of two women, and the men automatically assumed that we were going to take the notes. And I had to say, oh, no, when you send me your notes and let me see, and we can, because when you end up taking the notes, you automatically get in the position of an administrator or a secretary versus one of the decision makers and someone who has input in the context and content of the conversation. And so that's what I mean when I say being conscious of being a female, being an African-American female. But how do I work around that to continue to bring the value that I bring, which is my intellectual property, my intellectual content, my business savvy, the way I deliver results, not my note taking.
Gotcha. Wow. Very powerful. Very powerful. Okay. So now, I guess I would say, before we move on to the next subject, would be what I guess has been, you've dropped so much knowledge there, but has there been like one most meaningful thing that you've learned as an executive, as an entrepreneur, like one thing that really helped you continue to like rise above and continue in your career?
There's been so many. Gosh, I tell people all the time, every day as an entrepreneur, you're learning and growing. But if I had to choose one, and I wouldn't say it's most important because, oh my God, there's so many. But I would definitely say that Wow. And as I'm trying to answer the question, it's like 15 are running through my head. And it's like, I'm trying to say, which one is it going to stop on? Which one is it going to
Yeah.
stop on? Um, you know what? I'm gonna say this one, and that is, as we all know, and this goes without saying, capital, financial capital, and people,
Mm-hmm.
people capital. We all know those are the two most important elements of the business, right? People
Mm-hmm.
capital and financial capital. Um, and with both of them, with your people capital, it is so very challenging to identify those people that share your dream, that will work hard for your dream as an entrepreneur, that are willing to commit to your dream. And so the most recent lesson that I've learned in people capital is where I am with my business. I
Mm-hmm.
ask different questions now. I don't ask questions on how they can serve my business. How can they bring their skill and talent to my vision? How they're going to show up and we work together.
Mm-hmm.
What I do now is I actually ask them about their vision. What do
Mm-hmm.
they want to accomplish? What are they looking to do? And then how does their vision and my vision align for us to now work together for our mutual benefit? Now, it may be under my company umbrella,
Mm-hmm.
but what I found is when I've been interviewing with people, my vision is so big and so broad, people kind of get sucked into it. And
Mm-hmm.
then they just start kind of, oh, I want to be a part of that. But it doesn't mean they're necessarily going to bring their excellence. But when I tap into their vision, their dream, and how it aligns with what I'm doing, then really we're working together, aligned on the mutual goals, but it's not that they're 100% just showing up because of my vision.
I
And
love
so that's how and that's a very recent lesson for me. I mean, I'm 22 years into being an entrepreneur,
it.
and that's a very recent assessment that I have for that second most important piece, which is the people capital.
I love it. Okay. So now what brings us together and why I'm speaking with you and so loving this conversation is because you are a sister on fire, right? Based on what you're saying, based on your experience, based on who you are, you're unapologetically amazing and a force to be reckoned right with. And Sisters on Fire is a production, a play that has been started in New York, formerly known as Diary of a Mad Black Feminist by Marsha McNair and Anissa Moore, and it's been recoined as Sisters on Fire. And it's all about sharing humanity, but specifically the Black woman narrative in this country when it comes to feeling good about herself, dealing with relationships, dealing with some of the crises we have happening in our community. And so, first and foremost, if you hear the term sister on fire, how would you define that?
Wow. A sister on fire is someone who is committed to their own truth
Mm-hmm.
and genuinely looking to make a mark in
Mm,
their journey. When a fire comes, it leaves a mark, right? Whether it burns your skin, whether it burns your carpet, it leaves a mark. And
mm-hmm.
so Sisters on Fire, those are women who genuinely are looking to or who are committed to their truth and how that truth can leave a mark, whether
Mm,
it's on their with their family, whether it's with their community, whether it's in their profession, whether it's in all of those.
mm.
How do they live in their truth and how do they make that mark?
I love it. I love it. Okay. And with that, who would be women that live up to that for you?
Wow, there's so many. Those that the world may know: Viola Davis,
Mm-hmm.
Kerry Washington, Rihanna, Beyonce, Michelle Obama, Oprah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some that we may not know: Patrice Washington,
Mm-hmm.
Sadiqa Reynolds,
Mm-hmm.
Brandy Harvey.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just some of the women that, I mean, they're living in their truth. Shanti Das, they're
Mm-hmm.
living in their truth and they are leaving a mark everywhere they go.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. So, with that, then I guess, my last couple of questions would just be, if you were speaking to someone who is essentially, that potential client for you, that person who's been so focused and so driven on 10% of who they are, and they cannot figure out how to have a holistically happier existence because they haven't stumbled across you and your amazingness, what would you say to him or her right now?
Well, first, I would assess if they're ready, willing, and committed.
Mhm.
Um, because the truth of exponential living is I can guide, I can assess, I can encourage, I can empower, I can motivate, I can inspire, but I can't do the work.
Mhm.
And so those people who genuinely are ready for exponential living,
Mhm.
they're ready, they're willing, and they're committed. And they also understand that what they truly desire is peace, inner peace. They truly understand that all the external accolades will never give them that one core thing that they desire, and that is peace. So if that's something that's important to them and they're ready, willing, and committed, then
Mhm.
exponential living is 100% what they'll gravitate to and what can help them move out of that 10% living into their 100% living.
I love it. Okay. And then lastly, if anyone listening, they are motivated, they're interested in learning more about you, learning about how they can work with you, any upcoming events or announcements, share it all.
Yes, okay, wonderful. Well, I do have a few things. I
Oh,
would love to connect with your audience via social media.
okay.
My Instagram and Twitter is Sheri Riley, SHERIRILEY.
Mhm.
And Facebook and LinkedIn are sheririley.com, SHERIRILEYDOTCOM. So the
Mm,
.com is spelled out. My
okay.
website is sheririley.com. And also, I would love for your listeners to go to sheririley.com, sign up for my Exponential Living community. I am about to launch a program, Live in Your Power, that's going
Mhm.
to allow individuals to really dive more into the very first principle of exponential living. As we know, there's 9 principles. And the first one is live in your power. And I really dive into and speak to those entrepreneurs that are either in transition, they're ready to go to the next level, or they really recognize that their personal development fuels their professional growth. And so they're at one of those 4 pain points, either what's next, now what, is this it, or how do I live? And
Mm.
then also, lastly, I do have this amazing T-shirt. I love them, and they speak to the core of my message. Peace is the new success.
Mm.
Peace is the new success. And so to order one of those T-shirts, you just go text shirt to the phone number 404-923-8073. 404-923-8073, and just text the word shirt, and it'll give you the information on how you can order one of my t-shirts. Peace is the new success.
Love it. Thank you so much, Sheri. You are such an inspiration and a motivation for people to know that you can figure out, if you're not happy, it doesn't have to be forever, right? And that also success is whatever you make it and however you define it. And it's not always about things and where you work and how much money you have, but it's about feeling good every single day. And I think that this conversation was super enlightening and super motivating for everyone who's listening. So thank you so much. And thank you for being a sister on fire.
Oh, thank you. And I forgot one last thing, the book.
Yes, of
The
course. Oh,
book.
yes, yes, yes.
Yes, the book, Exponential Living. Stop spending 100% of your time on 10% of who you are. And it
Mhm.
is available everywhere books, ebooks, and audiobooks are sold. So, anywhere you get your book in whatever format you love to have your book, whether it's audio, whether it's digital, or whether it's a hardcover, Barnes and Nobles, Audible, iTunes, Kindle, Amazon, Target.com, anywhere books, ebooks, or audiobooks are sold. And thank you so much. I absolutely love what you're doing. I love the whole movement, and I wish you guys so much more continued success.
Thank you so much. All right. Have a good day.
You too.
Thanks. Bye.